Are you trying to draw a line between President Trump's acuity, his mental state, and what's going on here with the shutdown? Do you not think that the provisions that provide health care for non-citizens muddies that message?
They humiliate Hakeem. They interrupt him and fact-check his lies. They force him into these stuttery word salad answers.
CNN just torched the Democrats on live TV. Hakeem Jeffries strutted in trying to play the savior, but ended up detonating his own party's narrative. The host shredded every talking point about the Schumer shutdown until Jeffries looked like he'd wandered into political target practice. What we witnessed was the mask coming off, a shutdown born not from principle, but from greed, power, and panic inside the Democratic machine.
The government shutdown, the spending talk stalemate here in Capitol Hill. Democrats so far not willing to bend on their demands for Obamacare subsidies to be extended.
And the Republican Party passed a piece of legislation that the American people wanted. But because it wasn't what the Democrats wanted, they feel justified to shut down the entire federal government.
This entire shutdown is nothing but stagecraft. A political Broadway show starring Democrats desperate to keep control, while pretending it's all about policy. They bailed on a clean funding bill, demanded billions for pet projects, and when it all imploded, pointed fingers at everyone else. Schumer and Jeffries have turned the U.S. government into a hostage, not to serve Americans, but to remind everyone who's boss.
The president has been behaving, somewhat erratically in an unconventional fashion in the context of the government shutting down.
So you said erratic, and I believe you used the word unhinged the other day.
I did.
Are you trying to draw a line between President Trump's acuity, his mental state?
Jeffries went on CNN to sell his "We Care About America" story. But what came out was pure ego mixed with confusion. He blamed Trump, then the GOP, then even social media, because that's all the Democratic playbook has left. Excuses, drama, and deflection.
The Republicans had respect for the norms and etiquette of Democratic government. Trump's first term, this is just who the Democrats are. They have no respect for the norms. They have no respect for democratic elections.
Behind the scenes, the game plan was clear: drag out the shutdown long enough to paint Republicans as villains and stall any compromise. They can't control their own caucus, so they manufacture chaos. The shutdown isn't a negotiation, it's camouflage. A desperate way to hide a party eating itself alive.
Well, we enact a spending agreement that's bipartisan, that meets the needs of the American people, while at the same time addresses the Republican healthcare crisis that is devastating everyday Americans all across the country. If you actually wanted to bring everyone together to try to get to a resolution in a common sense, bipartisan way, that's not the type of behavior that we would see.
Then came the faceplant. Jeffries thought CNN would toss him softballs, but the host went rogue, asking why Democrats called the GOP bill partisan when they voted for the same version. Earlier this year, Jeff froze. The man who never stops talking suddenly had nothing to say.
You're saying that Chuck Schumer then voted for a Republican partisan bill because he voted for that, so did 9 other Democrats in the march. The partisan spending bill, is that the one big beautiful bill or the continuing resolution? Because the continuing resolution just funds the government at the current level.
He scrambled, throwing out Trump's name, random memes, and sombreros, as if that somehow explained his party's mess. It wasn't an interview anymore. It was a slow-motion collapse of Democratic messaging, every word digging a deeper grave for their credibility.
Subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is, you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
But the knockout came when the host mentioned Subtitle E, the clause funneling taxpayer money into hospitals treating non-citizens. Jeff snapped, "That's a lie," and then seconds later admitted that yes, emergency Medicaid might reach them.
So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand that when you retake the House, you can get whatever you want passed, but at this point...
And that was the breaking point. Democrats love to call it compassion, but it's a slap to every taxpayer crushed by inflation and medical debt. You don't raid citizens' wallets to buy moral brownie points. It's not healthcare for all, it's healthcare for optics.
Well, what we're doing is fighting to protect the healthcare of the American people against the largest cut to Medicaid ever. 14 million American citizens are going to lose their healthcare as a result of what Republicans did.
You're talking about the subsidies again, but I'm talking about the non-citizens.
That single exchange exposed everything. Democrats preach compassion but legislate chaos. They claim to protect Americans while secretly rewarding everyone but them. Even CNN, their old safe space, just aired their hypocrisy for the world to see. When cornered, Jeff tried the classic trick, panic propaganda. Republicans are cutting health care for 14 million Americans. No facts, no numbers, just fear on demand.
Do you not think that the provisions that provide health care for non-citizens muddies that message?
That's the problem with Democrats. They're so dramatic. They're so self-righteous. They believe everything they stand for is existentially important.
And that's the entire Democratic formula: scare first, explain never. When truth fails, they manufacture a crisis. Jeff wasn't defending health care. He was selling fear. The 14 million figure wasn't a mistake, it was a scam. A made-up headline to distract from the wreckage Democrats caused with reckless spending and inflation. They don't fix problems. They feed off them.
He announced that the White House was freezing roughly $18 billion in New York City infrastructure, quote, due to unconstitutional DEI principles. He added that's going to impact the Hudson Tunnel Project and the 2nd Avenue subway.
But CNN wasn't done. The host hit him again. This time over the White House freezing $18 billion in New York infrastructure funds over unconstitutional day mandates. Jeff called it an attack on working Americans. Wrong, it was a reality check. That money wasn't building bridges, it was building bureaucracy. Billions gone to audits and quotas while real workers sat on the sidelines.
I doubt it's a coincidence that you and Leader Schumer are both from New York, probably even occasionally ride that subway or use that tunnel. What's your response?
Well, it's an attack on working class Americans. It's an attack on good paying union jobs.
Democrats call every dose of accountability cruelty, but this wasn't cruelty. It was cleanup. DEI became their money laundering slogan, funneling taxpayer cash into consultants and cronies. The freeze wasn't Trump's revenge. It was Washington finally pulling the plug on the Democratic gravy train. And that screeching you hear is the sound of it coming to a halt.
The problems they want addressed with healthcare can't be negotiated and hashed out in the period of a week or two. And yet they're shutting down the government until their demands are met. That's because they have no interest in good faith debate or bipartisanship.
What's happening on Capitol Hill isn't governance, it's a knife fight within the Democratic Party. Schumer and Jeffries aren't fighting Republicans. They're fighting their own radicals. AOC, Bernie, and the far-left mob have them cornered. One wrong move and the moderates are toast. So they've turned the federal budget into a loyalty test. Every dollar spent proving their obedience to the woke wing.
What we've seen from the Trump administration is that they've adopted a my way or the highway approach. Now, if you adopt a my way or highway approach, and then you drop on us a partisan spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people.
This shutdown is the Democrats' civil war in full view. It's not about funding America. It's about saving their own power. The mask has fallen. For decades, they survived on media protection. But now, even CNN has stopped carrying their water. Jeffries walked into that studio expecting applause and got ambushed by reality instead.
That the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies. And also, there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants. It's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, et cetera.
That's when the illusion shattered. Democrats mistook media coverage for credibility. And now even their allies have stopped cleaning up their mess. Without the press shielding them, they look exactly how they govern: chaotic, arrogant, and out of steam. While Democrats melt down and devour each other, Republicans are the only adults left pushing for fiscal sanity and real solutions for working Americans.
They're looking for Republicans to arbitrarily sign on to a plan to re-implement their radical woke agenda.
This shutdown ripped the curtain off Washington. It showed who's still trying to fix the country and who's addicted to breaking it. Democrats campaign on outrage. Republicans work on outcomes. One side builds, the other blames.
Republicans actually have respect for the norms and aren't trying to erode all of our procedures like the Democrats would.
Jeffries and Schumer spent their airtime defending power. The GOP spent theirs defending taxpayers. And when this storm clears, voters will remember who kept their word. Democrats can keep chasing chaos. Republicans are busy rebuilding order.